Hi guys, this is CA Balakrishna from Lecturepedia.in. In this class, we will be revising Essay 402 Audit Considerations Relating to an Entity using Service Organizations. First of all, before starting the revision, these notes you can find in our Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel will be available in the description. Okay. Now entering into the standard. Now, in order to understand this standard, first of all, you need to have an idea of the context in which this standard has been developed. Okay, once you understand the context of this standard, the remaining standard will be like a cakewalk to you. Okay, so first of all, we will understand the context of the standard. Let's say, for example, there is Reliance company. Okay, Reliance Limited. Now, this Reliance Limited has outsourced one of its functions, let's say payroll function. Okay, payroll function has been outsourced to a particular company by name Consultancy Limited. Okay, this is the situation. Now, you are auditing financial statements of Reliance Limited. Okay, while auditing financial statements of Reliance Limited, you want to verify payroll transactions. Okay, now if you want to verify payroll transactions, you will not directly verify the payroll transactions. First of all, what you will do, you will determine risk of material misstatements. Okay, as per SA 315, you will determine ROMM. Okay, risk of material misstatement. To determine risk of material misstatement, you need to have understanding of the entity, and also you need to examine the internal controls that have been established around these payroll transactions. Okay, based on understanding of entity and understanding of internal controls, you will arrive at risk of material misstatement for these payroll transactions. But here in this case, these activities relating to payroll has been outsourced to a particular entity. Okay, thereby you cannot obtain understanding of the internal controls around these payroll transactions from your client Reliance Limited, because Reliance Limited is not performing these activities in-house. They have been outsourced to a particular organization by name Consultancy Limited. Okay, in this situation, how the auditor will determine risk of material misstatement? Okay, in this situation, how the auditor will obtain understanding of internal controls around this transaction? Okay, this will be dealt by our standard SA 402. Okay, this is the context of our standard SA 402. Now, in this standard, we will be using certain terms. Okay, here you are auditing Reliance Limited. Okay, thereby Reliance Limited will be known as user entity, because it is using services of another entity. Thereby Reliance Limited will be known as user entity for the purpose of this standard. And this Consultancy Limited, which is performing certain services to the user entity, will be known as service organization. Okay, service organization. And auditor appointed by the Reliance Limited will be known as user auditor, or you can say user entity auditor. And auditor appointed by this service organization will be known as service auditor. Okay, service auditor. Now let's say Reliance Limited has outsourced payroll transactions to Consultancy Limited, which is service organization. Now this service organization has again outsourced some of the activities to another organization by name, another company by name Sub Consultancy Limited. Consultancy, just a second. Consultancy Limited. Okay, this service organization has again outsourced the transactions to another entity. Now this another entity will be known as sub-service organization. Okay, these are some of the terminologies that we will be using in this standard, and this is the entire context in which SA 402 has been developed. Okay, now we'll enter into the standard. See, the same example which I have explained, I have given here. You can go through that. Now, first of all, once the auditor started audit of financial statements of user entity, okay, auditor will obtain understanding of those services which are outsourced to the service organization from user entity itself. Okay, first of all, auditor will try if he can obtain understanding of the transactions that have been outsourced from the user entity itself. Okay, how the auditor will obtain understanding of these transactions from the user entity? See, user auditor obtains understanding of services provided by service organization by understanding the following: nature of services that have been outsourced. Okay, auditor will try to obtain understanding of what is the nature of the transactions, or what is the nature of services that have been outsourced. Okay, and what is the nature and materiality of the transactions processed by the service organization. Okay, how material the transactions that are processed by the service organization to this user entity. Okay, whether they are highly material to the user entity or they are not that much material to the user entity. Okay, that auditor will determine. Next, auditor will also obtain understanding of degree of interaction between activities of service organization and user entity. Okay, how closely the activities of user entity and service organization are interrelated, and nature of relationship between service organization and user entity. Okay, what is the nature of relationship between user entity and service organization? Okay, even this will be determined by the auditor. Okay, all this auditor will try to obtain understanding from the user entity itself. Okay, all this information he will try to gather from user entity. In case it is not possible to gather this information from the user entity, okay, from user entity the user auditor is not able to obtain understanding of the transactions or the services that are outsourced. In that case, what the user auditor will do is, see, that is the next point. If unable to obtain sufficient understanding from user entity, then user auditor shall obtain the understanding by following methods. What are those following methods? First one, by obtaining either type 1 or type 2 report. We will discuss what are these type 1 and type 2 reports and what is the difference between these type 1 and type 2 reports. We will discuss that. Next, auditor will also try to contact service organization through user entity. Okay, let's say auditor has got a specific doubt relating to a particular transaction that has been outsourced. Okay, now the understanding of this transaction, auditor is not able to understand this transaction from the user entity. Then what the auditor will do is, auditor will approach the user entity, okay, to give contact of service organization. Okay, auditor will ask the user entity, you please ask this question or ask this doubt to the user entity, to the service organization. Okay, like this auditor will approach the service organization through user entity, or auditor will directly visit service organization and perform procedures. Okay, another option that is available with the auditor is with the user auditor is he will directly visit service organization. Okay, the organization to whom the services or the transaction are outsourced, and the user auditor will perform procedures to examine or to obtain understanding of internal controls that have been established by the by that service organization. Okay, or auditor will use another auditor to perform procedures at service organization. Okay, instead of user auditor himself going to the service organization and performing the procedure, what the user auditor will do is he will employ some other auditor, okay, to perform audit procedures on the service organization. Okay, these are the options that are available to the user auditor to obtain understanding of internal controls at the service organization. Okay, now let us discuss these type 1 report and type 2 reports. What are these type 1 and type 2 reports? Now see, here is our service organization by name Consultancy Limited. Now this Consultancy Limited will be providing outsourced services not only to Reliance Limited. Okay, apart from Reliance Limited, it will be providing services to various other organizations. Just a second, I'll just close this and open again. Yeah, see, this Consultancy Limited will not be providing this outsourced services only to Reliance Limited. Apart from Reliance Limited, there will be so many other clients that will be available to the Consultancy Limited, for whom Consultancy Limited is providing outsourced services. Okay, like various companies, Infosys, okay, TCS, like this various other clients will also be available to this Consultancy Limited. Now if auditors of all these clients, okay, Reliance Limited, Infosys Limited, TCS Limited, okay, auditors of all these clients wants to come to this Consultancy Limited and wants to perform procedures on Consultancy Limited, means it is not possible. Okay, thereby what this service organization, that is our Consultancy Limited, will do is it will get itself audited by a service auditor. Okay, based on the audit, service auditor will give audit report. Okay, those reports will be known as either type 1 report or type 2 report. There is a minor difference between these two reports that we'll discuss. But first of all, basically this is the idea of type 1 and type 2 reports. Okay, now we'll see the difference between type 1 report and type 2 report. Type 1 report versus type 2 report. Basically type 1 report contains design and implementation of controls at the service organization. Okay, in the type 1 report, the service auditor will give his opinion on design and implementation of internal controls at the service organization. Okay, these two aspects will be present in type 1 report, whereas in case of type 2 report contains design, implementation and also their operating effectiveness at a service organization. Okay, apart from design and implementation of internal controls, type 2 report will also contain operating effectiveness of the internal controls. Okay, whether the internal controls at the service organization are operating effectively or not. Okay, opinion on this aspect will also be present in type 2 report. Okay, therefore the major difference between type 1 and type 2 report is, in the type 2 report there will be opinion on the operating effectiveness of the internal controls. Hope this is clear. In case, now by comparing these two reports, the user auditor will always try to obtain type 2 report. Okay, it will be more beneficial to the user auditor if he obtains type 2 report. Okay, in case he obtains type 1 report, then for the purpose of understanding the operating effectiveness of the internal controls, he himself has to perform procedures, okay, in order to obtain understanding of operating effectiveness, in case he obtained type 1 report. Hope this is clear. Next, another difference is, in this type 1 report contains design and implementation of internal controls on a specific date. Okay, on a particular date they will be contained. The opinion will be contained on a particular date. Whereas in case of type 2 report, the opinion will be on internal controls as on specified date, or it can also be throughout a specified period. Hope this is clear. These are the differences between type 1 report and type 2 report. And also there is another extension to this reports. Basically those will be calling as carve-in reports and carve-out reports. What are they? We'll just discuss that. See, here service auditor of service organization has given either type 1 report or type 2 report. Now in this type 1 report or type 2 report, if the information relating to internal controls of sub-service organization are also present, okay, then it will be known as carve-in report. Okay, in case information relating to internal controls of sub-service organization are not present in this type 1 or type 2 report, then they will be known as, those reports will be known as carve-out reports. Hope this is clear. This is the difference between carve-in report and carve-out report. Here I have mentioned it, you can go through that. Next, reporting by the user auditor. How the user auditor will report, okay, after obtaining understanding of the internal controls or after obtaining the type 1 or type 2 reports, how the user auditor will give his report. Let us see. If the user auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding services provided by the service organization, okay, after performing all these procedures also, the user auditor is not in a position, okay, he is not able to obtain understanding of the services that are provided by the service organization. In that case, user auditor will give modified opinion, because he is not able to obtain understanding of the services that are provided. And in case user auditor is giving unmodified opinion, then in his report he should not refer to the reports given by the service auditor. Okay, do not refer to the work of service auditor unless required by law. Okay, in case law requires to refer to the reports issued by the service auditor, then user auditor can refer the reports of the service auditor or work of the service auditor in his audit report. Otherwise he should not refer. Hope this is clear. By this, revision of SF 402 has been completed. In the next video we will be revising SF 450. Okay, and another information, if you wanted to purchase classes regarding paper 6D or paper 4 law, you can visit our website lecturepedia.in and you can purchase from our website. Okay, bye bye, take care.